Welcome to the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson, Rick Avalos, and their special guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Well, welcome this evening, everyone, to the Image Critique Show. We're so excited. We got a good bunch of folks joining in already. Rick, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
I am doing terrific, Jeffy. How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm just excited about it. Seems
I know
like
you've been on the road for quite a while, huh?
yeah, it's nice to get home. As much as I like being on the road, I was up in Crested Butte photographing flower after flower after flower and teaching, and it was just a blast to be outside and be up in the high country. So
Good for you. Cliffy, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well, thanks. Good to see you guys.
Good to
thank
see you.
You
And
too.
we shared a weekend with Jeff and Cliffy and up in Buena Vista, and we'll hopefully have an opportunity to visit about that a little later on as well.
Yeah,
Great project.
That was a great week. Yeah, that was a great couple of days.
We'll talk about that in a minute. First, Rick, if you want to go ahead and introduce our guests and welcome.
With honor. Folks, you know, we never bring you anything but the A list when we have guests on our show. And tonight, he's definitely among that number, and if not in the top layer of all of them.
Tim, the A+ list, I think.
A+ list, absolutely. Tim Mathiesen, gosh, with a career spanning more than 50 years in photography, covering so many areas of photography, commercial, industrial, landscape, beautiful landscape photography, cityscapes. You did a series of cityscapes, I believe, and we're going to visit about that in a second, Tim. PEC chairman, and people are going to wonder, well, what the heck is PEC? But those of us have been in the PPA for a while, and competition will know what that is, and Tim might touch on that in a bit. Affiliate juror, goodness, what else? I mean, he's been involved in our national, state, and local organizations, presidents, and various offices. Awards, gosh, Kodak Awards, Fuji Master Award, you know, his ASP, and we got a fellowship. That's a biggie, of course. And you earned that several years ago, Tim. But you know, and I can go on and on and on. But welcome, Tim. We're so glad to have you here. It's going to be a great night. What can I say? And thank you for being here. And
I was waiting for you to tell who you were introducing. I thought that was a good story.
You didn't recognize who he was talking about.
No, it's interesting. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to your group and your program. I got my actual professional start after I graduated from school in Denver. I was a member of Professional Photographers of Greater Denver for 5 years. And, you know, and that was from the early 70s to 1975. And, you know, I worked with the greats, you know, Ed DeCroce and Kurt Chaffee and all those guys. And they were my early foundation of my career. I didn't go off into the portrait direction. I'm primarily a commercial photographer, and I have been most of my career. I'm kind of semi-retired at this point, and I'm going off in different directions, and I've found bird photography. Holy smokes, you know. You know, they're always there, but this first time in probably the last year, I really started concentrating on something I want to do for me. And I think we all at one point in our lives need to do that. Yeah. Go out and find something that get those batteries and get, you know, that energy.
Yeah. Well, you know,
back up again, and it's like a newfound, you know, thing for me.
Right. You were so kind. However many years ago, when I asked, this was before ASP would publish the thesis of the ASP fellows, and you sent me a copy of your thesis which I just treasure, Without a Net, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct.
And man, can you visit with us for a minute or two about your experience, your journey in that?
The everybody that applies to become an ASP fellow has to write a thesis, and it isn't necessarily an accounting of your professional career. It's a document that kind of tells the story of how you got to where you are. Whether it was who knows? I mean, what were all the influences that got you there? And when I was in high school, I wanted to be a journalist. And one day the journalism teacher came by and he set a 4x5 crown graphic on my desk. And he said, can you take this and go take pictures of the football team? We need them tomorrow because we have a deadline. And I looked at him like, huh? What is this? And he said, well, to be perfectly honest with you, you can't write, so hopefully you can take better pictures.
Okay. Honesty, huh?
So I've been trying ever since. So later that day, I went to a local photographer. I grew up in San Juan Capistrano. And we were a very small town at that time. And there was a local photographer there. And I saw him come around because he did some of the more formal pictures for our high school. And I went in and I asked him, I said, can you tell me how to use this? Because I have to take pictures of the football team tomorrow. And he looked back at me and he says, is this a joke? Oh, no, I kind of wish it was. Well, you showed me how to do it, and I haven't looked back since.
I'll be
I loaded
darned.
the holders. I didn't process the film. He processed the film. But I loaded the holders and got to learn how to focus that thing, and the pictures came out reasonably okay. And they're still in my yearbook. I still got them. So every
No
time I open up
kidding.
that book,
No kidding. Nothing like baptism in fire.
Yeah.
Huh?
Let's say jumping in the deep
hand
end.
grenades flying and everything.
Wow.
That's how it got going. And then I started working for another local photographer. And then when the fellowship thing came around, you know, it's supposed to be a 2,000 word. It's impossible to do that in 2,000 words. And if you look at some of them now, they go way beyond that. But what it is, it's all the different influences that made you what you are. And as I stated in there, my mother suffered from severe depression. And so she wasn't in my life a whole lot. So I kind of made my own. And when I sat down to actually do the paper, it took me 5 months. I mean, that was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do, to put my feelings on paper. Because one, I had to address them myself. Yeah, you come face to face with the reality of some of the things you experience. And that was tough. And if it wasn't for my wife is a retired college professor. And I don't write. I remember what my journalism teacher said, you can't write. Well, that's still pretty much the case, you know. So my wife was there to fill in all the gaps and put the punctuation where it belonged to be, stuff like that. And
Right.
It was an awakening for me, because I didn't realize all these little things and how it got to me. And as I said, after taking the football pictures, I haven't looked back.
Wow. What a story. That's wonderful.
I've been all over the world with it, and still I'm going to Africa in October. That's going to be that's a bucket list for me.
Yeah. How much time will you spend there?
In Africa, probably, I think 20 days.
Wow.
That'd be
I
great.
have to count 2 days coming and 2 days going, because time change and plane changes and stuff like that.
Right, right.
I'll be gone a total of 20 days.
Yeah.
So can't wait.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, I'm so glad to hear of and I've known, of course, of your history and your success. And
I got one more thing to add. I'm sorry.
yes, please go ahead.
There's another guy that was always there for me, and that's Rick's dad, Jack.
Absolutely.
I've known Jack. I had known him. He was one of the first people that I met in Colorado. And we just kind of struck up a friendship, and it lasted. It still is a good friendship. And I always asked, when I saw Rick, how's Jack? And miss him. I'm sure you do also. And
I certainly do. Thank you so
Jack
much.
was important person in my career.
Thank you so much.
That's cool.
Sentiment.
Good stuff. Yeah, he was an important person in a lot of our careers all through Colorado, and he took everybody under his wing.
Yep.
Just really helped guide so many photographers. It was just a wonderful, wonderful soul. We miss him.
Thank you, Tim.
We got a whole bunch of people here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
we
think
really,
we're about ready to get the ball rolling, right?
Yeah, Tim.
Jeff, do you have any other announcements, or do you want to save them for a bit, or?
Gosh, we got so many things in the fire that we're working on. We're gonna solidify a few more things. We'll make some
Maybe after the
announcements.
break.
Yeah, but let's get rolling on some images. We've got a good evening's worth, and we have some wonderful talent here to share with us, and Tim, and of course, I guess Rick can say some good things too now and then. So we'll just go with that. So I'm gonna steal the screen and go ahead and get okay, you can see that, and we will go ahead and get some images. Oops, I don't know why it always jumps to the other screen. Get my brush and my tools here, and yeah, you get it all set up, and the minute I go live, it does its own thing. All right, let's start off with talking about this image. This is called, let me roll it up here a little bit. This is called Artwork on the Desert. As I mentioned, Tim, I'm going to let you jump in and give us your thoughts on this image right here.
This is kind of interesting. It's one of those things that evoke, what am I looking at? Am I looking at an aerial shot looking down? Am I looking at a touch side of a large rock, or even a small rock? Am I looking at wood? And it doesn't matter. I'm looking at the pattern, the different colors, the lines going through it. And you have to sit there and you have to absorb it. I see a lot of different types of texture. And, this is one of those, you always wonder, if you rotate it, what does it look like? Does it change the impact? I rotate it 90, 90, and 90. And, it's really interesting. Just look at it more. I think it's really, I like the nice solid base across the bottom. And maybe the line that kind of zigzags through might be a little bit distracting. Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah.
To give you some different ideas there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, do one more time.
Okay. Sorry, I have my microphone in the way, so I have to duck it.
Yeah, you see how dramatic the change is? And it's nothing, the image hasn't, anything of the content hasn't changed, but the impact and the composition changed dramatically with each turn. And, this is one of those very subjective types of opinion, because I don't think any two people will see it exactly the same. But I really like this. I mean, this would be a great, background. It could be, if you're doing books, this could be a background on a page where you got maybe more images over the top. But the texture is neat. I'm now I'm curious, what is it I'm looking at? But it really doesn't matter. Very, very nice.
Rick, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, it really is. And I appreciate the comments. It's interesting, Tim, that you bring up a point that generally is brought up a little later on in our shows, as far as rotating or an image. And it's interesting, first out of the chute, that we're talking about that. But I'm thinking, I totally agree with all the positives that you said. I'm just a little concerned that maybe the presentation maybe could be handled a little differently. It's so dark, and I understand, it helps us to view like as if we're looking through a window, but I'm just wondering if we couldn't maybe bring it to a lower value so that it just kind of blends with the image a little bit more.
You thinking maybe in some of the same tones? Like
Yeah.
the mid-tone color here.
Take the color picker and play with it and see what you got.
Right.
Yeah, because you got, I mean, you get some dark tones, you got some light tones, just kind of see what, and of course the idea that that we talk about with whoops. Okay. Now I gotta get out, hold on, I gotta get out of the pen to make this go away. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so we talk about coordinating that background, that border with your image so that it doesn't stand out. It's got to be supportive and helpful, but you don't want to go in and make it so bold that it speaks louder than the rest of the image. And we'll see that quite often, and I can promise you that can work against you. So somebody's asking which rotation do we like the best? So here's basically upside down from the original. Here's a I don't know. Here's original. You guys have any thoughts on what you like?
Well, I like it 180 degrees from there.
Oops.
The what I would do is I take the picker, go into this area right here, and start with that to make a matting. You don't want it to be real light taken from the colors down here because that would be the first thing you see. So more subtle, but in the same color range, I think it would be good. But
Yeah.
I might even think about cropping it right across here somewhere. Those of you that don't know me, I'm a panorama photographer, and I see everything this way.
So
But
you're
no, I
thinking
think
maybe
that
just
this
wrapping it up like this.
yeah, and then maybe not so much, but just back a little bit. But yeah, but what's fun about an image like this is you have every different direction you can play with. You know, if you've got a portrait or you've got a picture of a building, you're really stuck with regards to the flexibility of creating an image. You can change the cropping on this all different ways and every time come up with a different image.
Yeah.
You know, so things like this are infinitely variable.
Absolutely. And you know, when you get images like this, or if you want to call them abstract, you're right. I mean, you can play with them because it's the interpretation of the viewer, really. And what I like about this image is it provokes attention and comment. You know, just as what we're doing now, if this was in a gallery and there were, you know, a dozen people, what does it signify? What is it saying, so to speak? You know, are we talking about the color range and the texture? So many things can be brought up in terms of topics here for discussion.
You know,
Well, I
you,
think
you're outside, you got great big puffy clouds. And then you start thinking you see different shapes and objects.
Right.
It's kind of like this, because no two people are going to see it the same way.
Right.
right.
And,
Let's say if you had 12 people, you'd probably come up with 12 different crops.
things, yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Move on to the next guy here. We now have beautiful boundary. Tim, what are your thoughts on this guy?
There's a great picture in there. I think we might have to, I love the color. And I particularly like the way the background is just gone completely out. But I'm not sure cropping wise if we have the best, because the way this is, for me, positioned, that big post in the middle suddenly becomes the subject because it's the most dominant part. Now, if I were to crop it here like that, Rick and I hit almost the exact same mark. And that puts that off center and gives more balance. But here it's not quite dead center, but it might as well be. And then, because you got some beautiful texture here. The other thing I'm wondering about is if I was on the other side of those flowers looking back towards what is now the camera position. But that's interesting to see the backside of all these flowers.
Yeah, it sure looks like a different
Yeah.
point of view that we normally see. I think that's kind of entertaining or something different.
Yeah, and you know, and I don't have a problem with the matting. I think the sub mount here is a little bit too bold. I mean, my feeling with mounting is if you see the mounting or the sub mount or the key line or whatever you want to call it, you see that first, it's too strong.
Too much?
I agree. I agree.
So, I mean, this one, you know, like I'm with Rick on the cropping. You got a lot of interesting patterns here. And yeah, there you go. What I would do is I would crop that matting a little bit smaller, not so wide. I've really learned a lot when it comes to the mats. And the mats are good because it gives a good presentation, but a mat can work against you if
Sure.
it's too aggressively. And I'm a victim. I've done that so many times. And when I look at it, I'm going, what was I thinking? But I think here is a better presentation here. I might even crop in a little bit more on the right side, not much. Because you still got this guy, you want him in the third, which is where he is. Nope, stop. Yeah, there you go. And maybe cut some of the bottom off because there's nothing happening there. You just see there you go.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so again, the image is there. You just sometimes have to dig to find it.
Right.
Right.
I think, and you know, and that's not a bad exercise. Go out and when I do a judging class. It's an all-day judging class, and I think Thea's taken it. We talk about things like that. We look at existing images, and we talk about if you're going to judge this, what are you going to say to make it better, or maybe it can't be made better, and maybe it's bad to start off with. And so it's a good exercise to do that. But I think you're in a better situation here. If you're going to do a matting, I'd find a real dark part of this green to be a key line or even a mat, and just play around with it, but don't make them so bold. I mean, they're there to support the image, not compete.
Right. Rick, anything you want to add?
Just one or two things. I totally agree with the composition. I really enjoy the leading line in it, especially it being diagonal. Little things, you know, like right here, you know, just taking those guys out. They're
Right.
part of the natural scene. I understand that, but how much are they adding to? And that's always my question. Is it adding to or taking away from the image? You know, those two areas there that, especially because they're in a contrasting area, dark against light. But other than that, I think there's definitely a potential image here.
Well said, gentlemen. Let's see. Let's move on here. I'll clear up in a minute. This one's called Bloom. Let me clear those marks. Okay. Bloom, Rick, what do you think?
Yeah. Man, it's a nice crisp image of this flower and leaf, the stem, nice lighting. I'm just feeling that the background is competing, especially when we have tangent points here against, you know, the cool color against the warm color in the background. I think areas like up in here in the background can be, I'm not even gonna say toned down, just taken out as here. And, you know, some of these areas around here, yeah, you know, what do you do with them? Maybe we can tone them down, but just to keep the background from competing with the image. You know, certainly we've got that bokeh, whatever you want to call it, going on in the background, and that's good. But, you know, just because it's out of focus doesn't mean it won't demand attention.
True, and I think if because it's so dark, it's such contrast, it's going to ask for attention. If maybe this area was lit up a little bit more and toned down, so the contrast was light was easier, maybe even something like this area here, I think it would be supportive but not take over.
Right.
Jim, what do you think?
Well, I'm wondering, the angle of the camera. I would probably have come up a little higher. And, so I can see more of this, I don't know, it's a flower. The underside of it is demanding so much of your attention because it's not really sharp. But if you came up a little higher and shot down on it, you could emphasize all the texture that's in here. And you wouldn't have these hot spots of the fiber of the stems and stuff. And also, I agree with the getting the background out of there. But if you came up a little higher and shot down, you may not have that background problem. Also, across the top here, because it's against the dark background, it really needs to be sharp. It's reasonably sharp in here and down here on these leaves off the stem. But you know, this is your primary subject. I'd just like to see it a little bit sharper, but for me, camera angle would certainly improve.
What do you think about, is this leaf asking for a lot of attention? Should this be even removed?
Well, I think by coming up at a higher angle, you minimize
Right.
that leaf. Because it's so sharp and all that detail there, it's almost begging for attention. As you know, maybe it's a secondary subject matter, but everybody goes there because it's sharp. Up here is a little bit soft, particularly on the real high points there.
Yeah, good point.
Like I
Yeah,
said,
these,
nobody sees it the same way. And but to improve this image, I would bring up my camera angle and shoot more down on it.
all right, very good. Anything else you want to add to that, Rick? Or
No.
we covered it? Okay, so that was Bloom. Let's go with Cool Pine with Jazz Branch. So one thing that I always like to, we talk about titles and things. Interesting titles, very much, you want to tell stories, you want to pull interest into a scene for the judges especially. But sometimes, and for me, I'm just sitting here looking at this, I'm not sure what Jazz Branch means. And I'm hoping I read that. Yeah, it's Cool Pine with Jazz Branch. I, as a judge, and I mean, I know the outdoors, I'm not sure what that means. So it makes a judge have to kind of stop and think a little bit. And that's the last thing you want to do, is make a judge think, right, guys?
Absolutely.
What's your thoughts, Tim?
Well, speaking of a title, I mean, the judges hear the title first before they see the image. So they get a preconceived idea of what they expect.
Yeah.
And when something comes up that's really not in play with the title, you go, what? You've lost them. You
Right.
totally lost them. And
you know, back in the day, it was kind of, that was the rule of thumb, the way that print competition was handled was that as a handler or announcer, the title came first and then the image would turn around. And so that the judge can kind of get an idea to start processing what they're about to enjoy. And a lot of times we see an image come around and then we get the title. So, you know, there's that disconnect, I guess is where I'm going with all that. But,
Yep.
Even having said that, I think this is a really nice image. You know, exposure wise, composition, there's a little concern for me in the clouds up on top here, kind of a magenta cast. But you know, potentially, you know, this image commercially, I guess I should say, is it could be used for a lot of really cool things. But
Right.
it's a great image. I mean, I really like it. It's one of those like, God, I wish I had been standing there.
yeah.
But again, sometimes fancy or cutesy titles work against you.
Right.
I think in this case, it doesn't help the image. You know,
Right.
I mean, come up with something more winter related or something. But man, everything's sharp. It's good composition. Balance is great. Great detail in the ice that's on the tree itself. Very, very good image. You need a title that suits it.
Right. Nice.
I agree. I think it's just a really nice depth, good detail throughout. And this is, we talk about the minor little things, especially for a competition, that will get you that 1 or 2 more points to bring up to the next category, or nowadays, whatever the judging criteria is. But it's all these little tiny things. I mean, it's not nitpicky. It's all the things that just make that subject stand out more. And I think in the long run, it's just making you that much better of a photographer when you pay attention to all these little tiny details that bring the thing. And I even see just on this tree here, there's this little stick right there that just pulls the attention into that unnecessarily, that if the viewer has to go in and see and identify what that is in their brain, it's taking them away from the story, from the whole whole thing. So cool. All right, let's see what else we can go on here now. They've got the annotate button right next to the pause video. I have to be careful I don't cut us off here. Okay, so we have cultural pride. And we'll get rid of that. Tim, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I've done a few of these and I know how difficult they can be. I think the lighting here is a little bit flat, but I think the impact is really strong because the regalia that the model has on is handled very well, even down the beadwork on the cuffs here. But the lighting for me is just a little bit flat. I would like to see a little bit more shape and texture in his face. I think the presentation is done very well. The other thing is, to me, he's just slightly off center. And that might be because he's got all the regalia on, but if you draw a line, his head is left of the center line. And it's a little bit of balance. I think this key line around is a little bit strong, but I think the matting, the color of the mat is fine. I like that brown tone, black and white, but boy, is there detail in there, and in the breastplates and all the bear claw collar that he's got on, and that's done very well. It's only the lighting. If the lighting had been a little bit more directional, I think it would have been really strong.
Yeah, there's definitely detail, that's for sure. Yeah, I think you're right. If we could have a little bit more of a shadow side here and even down to this, I think the contrast of the paraphernalia there would hold up just fine, but it would really make that face stand out. This little guy kind of pulls my attention necessarily. But I mean, there's just wonderful detail. I mean, there's just wonderful detail on the white feather here and all the wrist wear and all that kind of stuff. It's just really good. And I look at you're talking about maybe just being a little off center, and I'm looking at it's pretty close. Yeah, but I guess it could go over just a hair to the right as well. But man, what a strong story here. What a great history and all that kind of stuff that this tells. And the brown tone definitely gives us some punch. Anything you want to add, Rick?
No, yeah, I do. Just down here, this negative area here, am I not seeing the rest of it? Should I be seeing part of his pant, his leg, or the buckskin, or whatever he's wearing?
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Other than that, no.
That didn't catch my eye until you said that. Now I look at it and kind of can't decide if it's if it's something that's needed or not. Let me just.
Are you guys seeing any detail? You mentioned, Jeffy, on the bottom part, and I see detail there. On your monitors, are you seeing any detail? And I understand, the light direction coming from camera right. How much detail do we need to see? And is this a palm or a pom-pom thing? And this deal here, is it like the quill of this, should it be taken out? Jeffy, you mentioned maybe we should, and
Yeah,
Just-
good point.
Yeah, I don't, that, I would just take that out.
okay.
I think it's
One
kind
other
of,
thing here- One other thing is because of the face paint, which to me exaggerates the flatness, and a little bit more direction and shadow on this side would have brought it out. I mean, this image is real close. But I just think, and I would have turned him just a little bit more. Bringing his right shoulder closer to the camera. And I think that would also have, helped the line, but
Mhm.
good shot.
good stuff, guys. Thank you. Let's go to the next image here. Ghost herd. This is I think it's a pretty good title for some of this. It just kind of gets you thinking
Yeah.
what's going on here. And I love the fall off of the fog. We get some nice detail on the front guy here, and then it does fall off to almost nothingness back here. And I think it really just creates some depth and some story. And Ghost Herd is a nice little story to kind of bring you in and think about what's going on. Couple things I maybe would suggest losing this guy here. It's not necessary to the story. I think there's even just a little bit of a, but I don't think it's necessarily helping the story. Because we've got softness here. That all of a sudden this guy is a little brighter, a little sharper. It is forward of the fog more so, but I don't think it's necessary. And then I'm gonna ask, and maybe this area could have been lightened up just a bit because it's probably the darkest area of the scene, so it pulls your eye over here and you're searching for detail. And there's nothing there. And I'll ask you guys this: what do you think about when you have? I mean, this is tough when you have this. I don't even know, is there 5-6 horses back there that are bunched together? A little bit confusing in the viewer. Tim, what's your thoughts?
Well, when you're working in conditions like this, you don't have a lot of flexibility. About the only flexibility you have before you go into, the back end of working on this is camera position. And I'm wondering if the camera moved to camera left a little bit more, you get on it, you get some separation in the legs of those horses in the background. And then that way you could get rid of this guy. This guy, because you're right, he doesn't add a lot, except it is one of the fence posts. But I mean, again, camera position change, working this area here a little bit. Wouldn't want to go too much lighter because that black or that dark gives some substance and base to the image. And, if you're going to concentrate on the horses, here comes my panorama again.
We all have our faves, that's for sure.
But again, I mean, I like it as it is. I might have just boosted the contrast just a little bit. And by doing that, not make anything particularly,
Oh, sorry.
not make everything black. Right there. That keeps the horses in the lower third. And but if you boost the contrast a bit and give it just a little bit more depth without taking away that that really soft, foggy gray look.
Yeah, because that's the whole story right here, I think.
Yeah. It's just a little oomph in the contrast. Or actually you could go into either clarity or just and tweak that a little bit. It wouldn't take much.
Well, that'd be a good idea because that would kind of keep the fog there, wouldn't it? But just to go,
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Rick, anything to add?
Just this area right here. Everything is in key. And I understand when we're in a fogged area, there are some openings where you will see some areas of higher contrast in the entire scene, but maybe bringing this down just a little bit more so it's not in key. Now, I'm seeing horizontal lines, in other words, the horse is on the other side of the fence. Are you guys seeing that?
Yeah, that'd be your barbed wire fence there.
Okay.
That's the barbed wire.
Yeah,
Right.
That's the fence.
right.
Okay, so I don't know. That's was just something that drew my attention, but I really enjoyed this crop.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay. So let's go to,
Makes you want to go out and try to find that.
Yeah.
right.
And those horses back here really don't bother me at all. I mean, they
Yeah.
just really
Yeah.
add to the story.
They're soft enough, I guess, that it's not.
Yeah.
That's why I say with the different camera angle more to the left, shooting across, then you'd see those legs, which even be more.
Okay, let's see. So moving on, we have glamping goats.
Mhm.
So you wonder if this is a family that this is their vehicle they showed up in, or Tim, what do you think?
Yeah. It's a great record shot. I mean, I would want one of these if I had goats or any kind of animal crawling all over my car. You know, and just, and I think the glamp license plate really adds to it. It's just, because of the time of day, everything is, very directional with the sun coming in straight over the camera.
Right.
But maybe I would try to diffuse more of the background to give me a little bit more separation from the background. I'm curious as to what those goats thought about the photographer standing there. But Thea just came up with an idea, make it monochrome.
True. What do you want to add, Rick? Anything else?
Yeah, one thing, impact. Every image has some degree of impact, and this one certainly with the title gets our attention, and then we enjoy the image for a while, and how long does it grab us? And of course, a lot of our viewers know what I'm going to say here, that there are two, in my opinion, two types of impact. There's lasting impact and fleeting. And
Yeah, hold it there for a minute.
I beg your pardon?
Just hold that one for a second. The background you did, go ahead, Rick, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, just impact, there's that lasting impact that image is just grabs you for so many reasons. It could be the lighting, the storytelling, the composition, the color harmony, or the range of tonal value in black and white, or all of those. So that's what kind of makes the lasting impact. And then the fleeting impact for me is, oh, that's really cool. That title was cool. It handled it, really told the story. And then, it's nice. And then what else do you have? So, and I apologize. I don't mean to insult the maker, but just the impact for me was just fleeting.
Changing from the color to the monochrome, I'd crop out these little babies here. Because to me, the story is here, these goats can climb anything. And they decided to climb on this car. And there you go. To me, that just makes it stronger.
Yeah, it brings the story back
Yeah,
into these
in
two
my
guys in the
mind,
car.
it's a good record shot of our trip, so to speak. From a competition standpoint, I'm not sure, but it's certainly a picture I'd hang in my office if it was my car they were climbing on.
Right. And it's a good point with this cropping that we're almost a square crop here. Everything doesn't have to be vertical. I'm sorry, rectangular, vertically or horizontally, just as Tim likes to do with the panoramics. And panoramics can be vertical as well as horizontal, but different croppings and different aspect ratios really can make a difference in an image.
Yeah, they sure can. I think even just going from color to black and white, I mean, there's a lot of blue sky, and all of a sudden now the guys have just that much more attention on them by losing some of the colors in there. I mean, it's a pretty scene, but I think if you want to tell that story and you go in this case to black and white, it really makes those two guys stand out even more against the scene. So very cool. All right, let's see what else we have here. Guarding at first light. Bring it up a little bit here. Tim, what do you think?
Well, these are the panoramas that I like, and this is wildebeest well placed. I would change the matting
Mm-hmm.
and make it more subtle to the image, possibly a little bit more detail in the wildebeest that's there. But from an image and placement, this is beautiful. I'm looking forward to doing one of these when I get there.
Mhm.
But I think in this particular case, placement of the wildebeest, the way this kind of stretches out here, and then you see this graduated density works through the low-lying clouds and into the mountains, and then there's this beautiful warm sky. But we've got to come up with something a little bit better, more subtle for a matting. But this is, I mean, image itself without the matting is excellent. I mean, I really, really like it. Composition's great, balance is excellent. Just work on a better presentation.
Well, Tim, let me ask you this, because this is a conversation that obviously has come up for years in competition. What would you suggest? Because I mean, you don't want to go into a dark green or dark blue or black, because I think that would be just as stark as the white. But if you go into a soft green or a peachy pink, does that work too?
I'd be in here somewhere. Because you're not adding, by taking a color here and adding it to the mat, you're not adding a different color. And
Right.
that's what happened here. The white isn't really in the picture.
Yeah, good point.
You want to find something that complements the image. And I would try it. I would take some from here. I might take some from down in here, maybe over here. And then put them up and look at it. You know, change the background. I mean, that's what's so easy these days. You can,
Right.
at a click of a mouse or a pen, you got this stuff. So play with it, work with it. I just did a whole series of bird stuff, and I ended up going with almost a very, very light gray, and it helps so much better than a dark black. I mean, I was a black matte guy for years and years,
Right.
and suddenly I woke up. And so
Suddenly you found your creative self.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like, oh, I never thought of it that way. You know, you have a preconceived thing in your head about a presentation, but the presentation should complement, not compete.
So when you see a white mat, kind of a question to both you guys, which is kind of that fine art feel, do you think there's only certain images that those support better? Or just because you go to a white mat, it should be considered a fine art?
Well, if you walk around my house, the great majority of the big prints are white matted, and they call it a museum mat.
Right.
And they're framed and everything like that. But I'm getting away from it. I mean, I've always looked upon the white mat as a museum fine art type presentation, and I'm totally fine with it. But when I see something like this and how much better it could look with a complementary mat.
Rick, what do you want to add?
Yes, you know, agree on so many of the points that you guys are making. Composition to me is exquisite. You know, we've got all of these warm tones in the sky, cool warm tones in the sky, cools in the background, you know, the green cool colors in the foreground, and then we have these dark areas of the main subject that's balanced diagonally to the line of trees. Man, I think the composition is great. And this is, in my opinion, one of those images that could stand on its own. And I'm not a proponent of full bleeds, but to me, this could stand on its own, whether it's a, um, you know, a high gloss print or a metal print or whatever. I think it could really sail on its own.
This would be a beautiful metal print
Oh,
I-
absolutely, yeah.
with no
Look at
match,
that.
just like that.
Yep, there you go.
There you go. Forget everything I already said.
The jury will disregard the comments from the panel.
That would be a beautiful metal print.
Could you imagine an 80-inch print in somebody's
Oh my gosh.
log lodge?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I'll take two.
I just
Whoever-
really love the composition, man.
Whoever shot this, thank you, because now I have something to work for when I get over there.
There you
Right,
go.
gives you some goals. There you go.
Damn.
And you know, that's a good point, Tim, because, you know, we're here evaluating images, giving our opinions, critiquing, if you will, and that's our show. But man, I just feel, and I hope you guys, maybe you feel the same way as what I should say, that I feel I learn more than I ever impart during these shows.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Rick and I talk about that all the time, and there's so many, you guys have given us so many ideas to go out and shoot some new stuff. And this kind of thing is just, and Tim, I believe you know the maker. We'll worry about that later, but
Well, I mean, I want to know who it is.
yeah. So we'll see if the maker wants to reveal
Now
himself.
that's, yeah, I mean, now that we've taken the mat off, for me, that's the image. Forget the mat, forget everything I said.
I love it. Oh, too funny. All
So
right.
that was either taken in Tanzania or Kenya, because I recognize the mountain line there, but I really like that.
Very cool.
You've given me a target.
Very
Good
nice.
work. Good work, maker. Good work. You impress one of the jury. That's what happens.
Oh,
Okay.
it's Thea. Okay, I got you.
This is called, hang on, the title is I Got a Question for You. Rick, I'm gonna jump to you. This is in your wheelhouse.
Oh, I love it. Love it, love it. Obviously a beautiful character study, light, you know, coming in from camera left. Sculpting is the term I love to use, sculpting the face and of course the hands as well. And I really enjoy the way the light was controlled on the hand so that, you know, we don't have so much competition viewing it. I might suggest that we come in and tone down the highlight area a little bit more, just to have it a little bit more in key with the rest of the image. But man, the separation too,
Yeah.
from the subject to the background is handled very well. I would caution as far as key lines, if, as I see it, the key line camera right about here, to me, looks a little closer than the key line from camera left. So you guys tell me if I'm wrong on that.
No, you're right.
Okay. Might be just a little bit on the bottom as well, but you know, just things like that that make the difference. I have no problem at all with the color of the mat, but you know, the big thing for me that makes this such a successful image is the expression.
Yeah, very powerful.
And the eyes just speak volumes. You know, the touch of his hand to his whiskers. Yeah. I don't know. I'm seeing it a little blocked up here. I don't know how you guys are seeing it, but just a beautiful image.
Where you see, where's the last arrow there? It blocked up.
My camera right shoulder. Are you seeing me circle it?
I'm seeing all kinds of circles. That's why
That's where I want you to go.
step away, Rick, step away from the pen. I'm gonna do this. So you can just touch that area real quick again.
Yeah, right here.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Nice,
What do you
nice.
think about, and one thing that hit me first, the collar line, and maybe you said that, I'm not sure. It's a little high. I know he's kind of hunching forward. Does this bother you at all? Is it of any matter? Or
Nah,
I'm not
no,
being minor picky here, but
nah.
Tim, what do you want to add to that? Rick did a great job.
Well, I first noticed that, but the impact of his face and the lighting and the texture of his face completely overpower that for me.
Yeah,
It's not an issue. I would have maybe brought the light down, the density of his hand, I would have brought it down a little bit more, only just to give more depth and separation. But those eyes, man.
Yeah. Jeffy, can you come in on a crop? Are you seeing my blue lines here?
so you want to do something a little long and narrow there, huh?
Yeah, just
Okay,
just for grins.
sure. Anything for you, my friend.
Okay.
That,
There you
And
go.
on the right end.
like this.
Yeah.
And
Ooh,
there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
maybe even in on the right just a hair more.
Yeah. And we got a little bit of a haloing over the shoulder camera right with it, maybe tone it down a little bit.
Right in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. I
There
like
you
that
go.
'cause that pulls us right into that face and those eyes more than anything. Seeing you guys think we don't know what we're talking about.
That's a nice shot, man.
Great. Very nice.
I was just reading the comment real quick from the maker of the last image. It's a 6-shot pano, and it's going to be an 80-inch print. And then those dots in the grass in the back were animals.
Yeah.
So
I got that.
very cool. All right.
Good shot, Thea.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let Thea, she knows what she's doing. Okay, we now have just another day in Colorado. Tim, what do you
That's
think?
yours, Jeffy.
What's that?
That's yours. This one's yours. Go
Oh, I
for it.
got you. Okay. I just love the when you get close to flowers like that and they still have a nice background. I mean, what a front yard for this house, right? Look at this view they have, front yard. Look at the backyard view. Lovely colors, the diagonal lines. Let me get my pen back here. The strength of these trees and the, matching the lines of the flowers give us some comfort there. Takes us right into the scene. We got the house, we got the mountains, look at the sky. Pretty cool capture. I wonder about this green thing. I probably would have removed that. Maybe a couple little things right here and there. My purple's not showing up good against the purple. Looks like there's another house right here. Maybe that you even think of eliminating that one, letting this be the primary thing. Tim, what do you want to add to that?
Well, I think your comment is right on the mark. I think, the time of day, the sunset, the sun's gone and you're picking up the color in the sky. And that's just giving it enough reflected light coming back. It's almost like backlighting the
Yeah.
flowers a little bit. I have a problem with the matting.
I'm sorry, you do have a problem?
Yeah, maybe I would have made it a little bit darker,
Okay.
only to enhance the color that's coming through. You got a lot of values in that same area. And this gray, I don't know, maybe on my monitor, it looks a little gray-green, but I'm
That's
just
what
gonna
I'm
say it's a pure gray.
You too, Rick.
It
Yes,
draws my eye away a
green.
little bit. I want a little bit darker and more frame. I wish it was my shot, though. I've tried.
Rick, what do you want to add to
Nothing.
that? Do you think the like I mentioned, this house maybe is a little bit asking for attention. Do you think this house
I'd
should
take it all
stay
out.
there?
I'd take it all out.
I
Take all
would
the houses
too.
out?
I would too. Yeah.
There you
I do have a question for you guys. At what point because we see beautiful images like this where there's a really good depth of field. At what point, as an artist, do you decide, well, I really want to do some selective focus, so I'm going to come in here, and that's going to be my focus, and I'm going to let everything out here go soft, which, in my opinion, there's such a beautiful sky and a mountain range there in a background that I just would hate to see go out of focus. But
I mean, I would change my camera angle if I wanted to be more selective on the focus. I'd come down a lot lower. And
Okay.
shoot up at the flowers. So the flowers, you don't have that background. You have a light from the sky to help you, but you don't have the deep valley and those mountains back to draw it away. So my camera angle I would control. But this camera angle, I love being able to see all that.
yeah, because I'm just seeing, gosh, such a beautiful range here, and I'm just wondering, you know, how much of the bottom of the floral foreground is necessary, because man, this is so beautiful up there in the sky and the range and the trees.
You're thinking maybe even cropping it up? So I don't have my pen here.
Yeah, and I guess because I was
Cropping it up even
thinking
into
about
here
how
more?
dark
Get rid
the
of that dark
area is
stuff.
looking.
Say that again, Tim, I missed that.
Get rid of all this dark stuff.
This stuff here.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
just
that's-
crop it right almost up to the base of these first flowers.
That's where I was going with that.
Let's do that real quick here and just play. Just kind of come up like right in
There you
here.
go.
Yeah,
And you can fill these other spots in a little bit.
and I agree with you guys as far as taking out the
Houses and stuff, yeah.
humanity of it with the building.
Cool. Good stuff.
Sound of music.
You know, that's what I thought of too, and of course, immediately thought of you, Rick, with your movie knowledge of going there. So, but you missed your cue to jump into it earlier, so I'll let it go for now. But
No, I just wanted to throw you a bone.
okay, I got you. Misty Mountain Sunrise. Enlarge just a bit here. Tim, what are your thoughts on this guy?
Well, I think timing of it was perfect.
Yeah.
The sun hasn't quite dipped down in here. You got a good disc, but not so bright. The mist or the fog or the stuff gives just enough diffusion where you can see it, but it doesn't overpower the image. Nice reflection. I might crop it in just a little bit so I don't have this spot, but come into maybe in here somewhere. So let this bush frame it. You know, again, this is one of those where I might crop it across the bottom here. The conception and execution were done very well. Now it's just a matter of tweaking it from a cropping standpoint to get the strongest impact. I would probably have picked somewhere in here for a possible matte.
The color of the mountain back there.
Yeah, maybe. Again, it's just one of those things you're gonna play with, but the sun for me is the focal point and gives good balance to the rest of the image. I like the little white daisies down here in the foreground. They give it some depth in all that grass.
Yeah, I agree with all those things you said. I think bringing it in just a little bit, eliminating that right side gives us a nice, if nothing else, keeps us in the scene with this plant next to but the rock is good anchor point. I would get rid of them and get my little pen here. You know, get rid of these guys right on the edge just because where I cropped it, and maybe this kind of stuff right on the edge here. Get rid of those. So you're suggesting, Tim, maybe a matte in this color?
Maybe it'll be one of those things like you don't want it to go too light.
Right.
You want to find it,
And when it comes to mattes, colors, and key lines, what I've done, and I've mentioned this before, is I'll just create a layer and have a particular, pick a color in the scene and use that as a mat, then create another layer and then pick another color. And same with the key lines, pick a color, go ahead and stroke and make the stroke.
Yep.
And then just kind of click the eyeballs off and on as you go through them, just to see what
Right.
kind of float your boat. And
Yep.
it's
I agree.
I think it's a good idea too, to maybe even have someone, walk away and let someone click on them and see what they think.
Well, and that's the thing Rick and I always talk about is, I mean, one of the charges of becoming a master is to be able to be prepared to help other folks with their imagery. And, I'll sit and work on an image and spend time on it and think I've got something nailed pretty good and send it to Rick, and he sends me back a punch list of little things but I'll tell you what, guys, makes a big difference. So,
Yeah.
anytime you have an image and you're going to competition with it, get with one of us, get with another master, get with somebody else, and just get some more eyes on it. Because we see these scenes, we fall in love with them, and we do a really nice job. But sometimes another set of eyes can just throw a little bit in there, and it's all about those. In the days when they talked about when we scored with points, it was another point here, another point there, and it's still kind of the same concept, but you want to get it up in that next level. Those are the
Right.
kind of things that'll help you. Oh gosh, I almost said take it to the next level. Oh, I said it. I hate that phrase. All right. Let's see what we have next. We'll do one more and we'll take a quick break and then we'll continue. So we have, oh, this is a good title. Monet's Gardens. No, geez, I blew it. Monet's Neighbor's Garden. Mouthful. Tim, what do you think?
Well, it looks like we're looking at some columbines here.
Yeah.
Because of their color, they are the primary subject matter. My only concern is you have these really strong blotches of colors here, and then you got almost a contrasting color here. And again, this would be something I'd want to play with the cropping, because my favorite part of this are the columbines themselves.
So a tighter crop on the flowers.
Possibly, I would probably want to lose a part of the right side of this, camera right side. And these flowers here are really strong and they really stand out to the point where they're pulling your eye across or away from the subject. So this would be one that I would sit and play with cropping all over the place and see what is the best. And then I would probably show them to my wife and she would tell me I was all wrong.
Perfect. Rick, what do you want to add?
I think the concept is handled well. I really enjoy the color palette, and the play of colors and color contrast, etc. There are just some contrasty areas because it, being a kind of a watercolor pastelish type of a rendition, but we've got, these sharp areas here and contrasty areas that kind of go against the theme as I see it anyway. And then, we've got all of this really nice soft color here, and then being pulled to the bottom right corner with these darker contrasty areas.
That'd be there, yeah.
And I could see that if we had that same kind of value on the upper left and, upper right or bottom left, and they would be a real nice framing effect, but
right. Let's see what Tim was saying, kind of maybe going like this kind of a feeling, Tim.
Come up from the bottom. There you go. You still have to do something about this, right? This.
Yeah,
it's really hard when they've done an artistic application to make this look this way. it makes it a little bit more difficult to move things
Right.
so they're not so distracting. Because of the density of this one in particular,
Yeah,
wasn't
there's
so heavy, it would
stronger.
blend more into the green. This guy stands out pretty strong.
You know, if seeing an image like this and say several other renditions of this theme would make a really nice group of photographs. I'm not saying this same image multiplied, but
right, this theme.
same theme
Yeah.
and several others would make a really nice grouping color wise, in a home.
Yeah, like a triptych on a wall.
It's true.
Right.
The next one is called, let's see, where do we leave off here? Ooh, this is sharp. Morning Glory. Tim, thoughts?
Wow. The thing that strikes me the most about this is the texture and the gradation of density. I mean, there isn't a spot on here. It looks like it was taken with a drone.
Yeah, I bet.
And I bet I know who this one belongs to too. This is really well done. Timing is great, beautiful texture, and it isn't exaggerated. What I mean
No.
by that is the density is subtle, the highlights are subtle, but you can see almost every little rock in the picture. And
Yeah, look in the shadows.
yeah,
Nice
it's just
detail.
there's detail. You know, as you I don't have my pen back. Are you sharing the screen?
Yeah.
I don't have my pen. That's why I was.
Go up to the you should have a button that says annotate. I'm not sure what it is on other screens.
It should be on the bottom left on the Zoom.
Yeah, mine's at the top because I'm the host, so
Bottom left corner.
Rick, you want to add
Oh,
something?
I got it.
Okay.
Got it. But you look in this area through here and through here and here, and even up in here, you still see great detail.
Yeah.
And excellent job. And I think the presentation is fine. I don't have any problem with that.
Quick question on this, Tim. Since we have light kind of coming this way, we got a lighter area on this side and a lighter area here, which normally pulls the eye. Does that bother you?
Not really. I mean, to me, it gives a little bit of depth. If
Yeah.
it was the same like that all over, it'd be very flat.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This is a very, very strong image. I mean, these leading lines, like you were pointing out, the shadows and leading lines are just, I mean, they take you right in.
Right.
Let us get into here, and then we can, these lines will let us wander back out. We enjoy the horizons here, and then you come right back to this monument. It's just very striking.
And the other thing, you're talking about the light on this side, it's well balanced because of the sky up here.
Yeah.
You've got a good balance and stuff, but it's just the texture and detail.
Mm-hmm.
I might darken this bit of sky just ever so slight, because there's nothing there. Kind of becomes just a gray area. So maybe just a tiny bit of density in this dark area. Not serious, but I would maybe do that. Rick, you want to add to this?
Just some compliments. You would think that the monument would be the center of interest, and maybe it is because compositionally that's where it is. But man, the power of this image to me is right in here. The direction of light, the gnarling of the ridges, the play of the light and shadow. Beautiful.
That's a new official image competition technology gnarling.
Arl.
Gnarl.
Well, and feel free to use it.
Okay. Too funny. All right. Good work. Good work, Maker. We now have Morning Glow. Tim, go ahead.
Well, my first reaction is, it's really flat. It's hard to make out. I'm guessing these are seals. And this one, it's hard to really separate all, because you have so much texture and details all the way around it. The only thing that really stands out here is the head of the seal. This guy over here
Yeah.
kind of just blends in. I'd be curious to see it in color, as I'm, guessing that this might be, is like seaweed or something that they're on, which would give separation. Here, because of the monochrome, it's hard to see it all. And the value from here all the way to here, and from up here all the way here, is pretty much the same. So I lose depth and shape. I want to see three-dimensional shape in a two-dimensional medium, and I don't in this particular case, because I think that you got a great expression, right here on this seal, but it's just kind of, for me, lost in the surroundings.
Yeah, I think this is a tough one because you've got a lot of this seaweed and kelp that's going to have a gray-green look to it, and lots of texture, lots of shapes. But maybe, like you say, that color difference between the animals and the green and the such would maybe make them stand out more. But it is definitely a busy image. Yeah, Rick, anyone to add to that?
No, you guys really covered it. Yeah.
I think there's something cool here. I mean, Maker would definitely keep working it up. Try the color. I mean, black and white is, as you guys know, I love that stuff. But sometimes the color does help define a portion of an image even stronger. And maybe it's also too this, I think there's been some burning in, some darkening of the edges that have taken the sea kelp into this very, very low contrast grays, and I think it's just kind of, I don't know, the animal does stand out in the face and such, but there's an awful lot going on there, so just maybe try some different things that way. All right, let's see. I got to go to the tool here. Okay, I know how to do this.
Do not try this at home.
I know. My Friend Marty. Great title. Good story. Rick, let's have you jump into this.
Hey, Marty, I like Marty.
Yeah.
Nice lighting. Obviously, we got the nice texture in the face. In terms of color, I don't know. I'm seeing, excuse me, a little bit of just slightly on the greenish cast. I don't know if you guys are seeing that. A little cooler tone, I guess, is a better way of saying it than a warmer tone. And maybe that's, obviously, the decision of the maker. Again, we're talking about conversions, and would this be okay or better rendition in black and white? And before we do that, I'm just gonna circle this little guy in the background, these areas here. Again, we've used this term over the shows for quite some time, nitpicking, but when we're wanting to see these images, I won't say taken to the next level, Jeffy,
Thank you.
but elevated.
There you go. That's stronger.
Can we do a conversion?
Yeah.
Just for fun?
Well, we can.
I love the lighting on his neck, man. I wouldn't do anything to retouch or smooth that out.
We can. Let's see.
and then take it down and look. Yeah, I just kind of feel it's a stronger image in black and
You want it to be a little deeper as well?
yes, I do. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, more powerful, really makes the eyes stand out and the skin tones, and really strong.
You know, the maker just has a really good, to me, a good connection with their subject. You can't get expressions like this, in my opinion, unless the photographer has a really good rapport or connection with the subject in
Very
terms
true.
of portrait
true.
photography.
Tim, anything to add?
well, I mean, Rick really covered it. I mean, initially, my first thing was, well, his sweater's all plumped up and his collar is not right. Then the more you look at it, no, don't touch it. That's him.
I think it's his character, yeah.
And then the color image to me was, as Rick said, it's a little bit green, and it didn't really show, it didn't complement his skin. Whereas a black and white, you don't have to worry about that. You pick up the texture, you pick up the variation in tone of his skin, and his eyes are bright, and the little flyaway hairs on his head now, that's great.
Yes.
Black and white is by far and away the better way to approach this.
Agreed. All right.
Gosh, what a treasure that is for his family.
Boy, no kidding. It's just what I was thinking too. It's definitely something to precious piece of just memories and stories. This is called one nesting material at a time. So we got a good story here. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Oh, this is a blue heron, and looking at how that bird is gripping a twig, I mean, not in the mouth, but what he's standing on is very interesting to me. It's very sharp. The thing he's got in his mouth to build his nest, it's okay. But I think the capture that you've got the bird in the middle of is really tells the story. And I have no problem with the white background because it gives lots of depth to the bird. And you don't miss any of the detail. The eyes sharp, the beak sharp, the wings are, encapsulating the top of his head. I think it's done very well. Cropping seems to be pretty good. You're not losing a lot of dead space. You've got that bird occupying a good part of the image. I would have carried out a key line the way you have it, but make the border white, the matting white.
I totally agree. I totally agree with the matte color. This is a great shot, my opinion. Yeah, I guess we could tilt everything, the subject a little bit more camera right, so we have a little more of a diagonal of the stem leading up to the bird. But man, this is a really nice capture, and I really enjoy the way that the wings frame the body and the beak of the bird.
There you go.
You're thinking like something like this a little bit more, Rick?
Let's try that.
We'll be able to get it all white.
Yeah.
Keep the space, but that's the idea. Just kind of rock it back a little bit there.
I mean, honestly, I don't see a difference.
Yeah,
there is a difference, but I don't see any.
Yeah. I don't think it makes enough difference to go through the effort.
I think the title, I didn't care for the title. Because my first reaction was, what's he got in his feet? I didn't hardly see the little twig. I mean, if you've ever seen a heron's nest, they could be 6, 7, 8 feet across. So my experience with them is that's what he was building the nest with. but obviously he's sitting on it and he's got that little piece, but, I really like it. I think with a white border, a good key line, and then continue out with a white border, you got a beautiful print.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
It's really excellent quality. I think the mat, while it's okay, yeah, definitely if it was white and just a real fine, even you go white on that mat or off white like the background, match that. Your keystroke could be even 1 or 2 pixels and just very fine gray would be just enough to really make it stand out. Again, it's kind of going towards that fine art look. I think that would be super. Right. Then we have 1, 2, 3. Tim, go ahead, jump in.
Okay, capturing these cranes in flight, is done very well. It's hard to tell, but it appears that they are good and sharp. I'm looking at the head of each one, and it all appears to be, the sharpness is acceptable. I like the way, you've caught their wings. My first reaction was, are these things, is it the same bird put on there 3 times? And it's not. The only thing I really object to is the blue border. It's just too strong. And it does, I mean, I'm sure you probably pulled it out of the blue sky, but it is so strong that, it fools my eye. I would have probably picked something in the cloud, or even just gone to white. But it's just, but it's really good because the color, the lighting, it looks like they're almost backlit. Because you can see this transmitting color coming through their wings, and I think that's done well, but, good shot, just, it's just a poor presentation for me.
I think it would be kind of cool if you just let the clouds extend all the way to the edge of the image and just drop a key line in there.
Yep.
Anything you want to add, Rick?
Yeah, and again, it goes back to presentation. If we look at, let's see, let me get my guy here, right up here. And this is something that I guess I'm kind of a stickler on when it comes to key lines, etc. We're seeing where the image blends into the color value of the image in this area blends in to the background. So, as far as a key line, if we're going to use one, let's let it either be attached or detached. In this case, an attached key line, which is how I describe it, just goes all the way around the image and connects to it, a value that separates it from the background. Now, am I seeing just a faint key line around it, guys?
So that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can
Okay.
you blow it up?
Okay.
There is a key line, okay.
Yeah, probably 1 or 2 pixels of the
Right.
color.
And if that were attached, maybe that would be a color value that would be good enough to separate it so that the color in the image doesn't blend with the background. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right in this area. Because we can see how the color of that part of the image blends in with the background. And again, we're talking about, we use the word that we don't like to use, the phrase nitpicking or whatever, but all of these things add up.
Sorry about that. Yeah, they
Can you
do add
blow
up.
up,
What's that?
Jeff, blow it up, the middle bird, so I can see. Okay, slide it over, there we go. Okay, I was afraid that there was some diffraction, but it's not. I thought I saw some color in here.
Yeah, and it looks rough because I did enlarge it so much there. So
Okay. Yeah, you've got a great image. I would just lose the border, and as Jeff said, maybe just enlarge it so everything goes to the edge, and then put a key line in there.
Yeah.
yeah, you could even leave the key line where it is.
Yeah,
Make the clouds go all the way, extend it all the way to the edge. of the image, and I think that would suffice for competition and be, again, not as obvious because that blue is there. And I might even it maybe won't be so bad after you do that, but I would even maybe take this blue, just even reduce a little bit of the color of it. Leave it a blue, but make it even softer so the birds really stand out even more, because you have complementary colors here, but the blue is asking for a lot of attention. I first thought of maybe cropping this even closer here, but we don't want to get those noses, those beaks right up against that
Right.
side. I like the movement here.
Right.
And would you even, let me ask you this from this kind of thing, would you even go one step further and maybe just take this bird and move it down so it's in equidistant between both birds?
They don't fly that way.
No, that's true. That's
Based
true.
on the camera angle and stuff like that. Because I've been practicing on pelicans, and they fly together, but they're not in sync or in
Right.
uniform. So I think
And if you watch them long enough, they bump into each other
yeah,
all
they
the
do.
time. It's almost kind of funny. All right, good stuff. Next we have Resolute. This is a wowzer.
Go for it, Wowzer.
Yeah, there's just wonderful detail on the birds. These are tough because you get that underside sometimes, the undercarriage of an eagle, and you lose the detail and the feathers, especially around the body and the wing that comes together. But this is done so well that you can just see that shape of the body and the wing, and without it going too awfully light, too unnecessarily soft. And nowadays you hate to jump in and think, was this positioned on top of an image, or it doesn't matter. It's done very well. I mean, what a wonderful composition with the mountains in the background, letting them be soft. It puts the bird in its habitat. But you go, the position underneath the bird is great. You go right back to the face every time. It's a toughie because you do have some the bright whites of the snow on the glaciers and the mountains back here, but I wouldn't darken that. I think that's the scene, but yet the bird's head is just bright enough that we come right back to it every time. Tim, what do you think?
Great capture of the eagle. I mean, just like I say, difficult to be. You got to be in the right place at the right time.
Right.
The only thing I would have done is I would have framed it such that the eagle is back here, so you've given him some room to fly in. When you put it off center, you're creating a little bit of tension, which it's really the maker's choice. But a great shot. I mean, look at the face. The beak and his eye. Well done. The lighting, you can see the texture on the white feathers on his head. And there's texture in here under the wing
Yeah,
on both
absolutely.
sides. And just enough. I mean, if it was too light, then it wouldn't look real.
Right.
One of the problems that I've seen a lot is, they lighten up the shadows and they don't look real.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
in this case, well, good detail. I mean, it's a maker's choice as to placement. But if it was here, then you've given it room to fly in. I would have matched probably the matting with this blue right here. And it looks like you pulled it somewhere in here. But again, that's a personal choice. I think a shot like this, you probably wouldn't even, depending on what you're going to do with it. If you're going to do something commercially with it, you don't want the mat at all.
Right. Well, and I find every time you select a color of a mat, there's a judge that will tell you they could have done something differently.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how you win that one, but what do you want to add to that, Rick?
Yeah, you guys just nailed it, except for one thing.
Well, yeah.
Just opening up a little bit more underneath the wings with a 283 Vivitar flash at a quarter power. How many of our viewers are
Does anybody know what a 283 Vivitar flash is?
That's a good one. I think I've got one in a box somewhere.
Yeah. Oh,
I still have.
Yeah. that is funny. That's a classic one right there. Oh my
But,
God.
I was up in Alaska a couple years ago and, I went to go salmon fishing, but while I was there, I was in an area where there were lots and lots of eagles. And I gotta tell you, this is a great shot. I probably filled up a card of trying to get eagle shots.
Right.
And never got one that I liked.
Hmm.
I mean, at least I can say I took pictures of them, but
Right.
this one's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll mimic that same thing. I've been up there and there's lots of eagles, but it isn't that easy. This is
No.
really an outstanding capture. So
You
good
gotta be in the
work.
right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And to our viewers Tim is over 50 years in this. Jeff and I are 50 years. So we're talking about 150 years of being around this, because a lot of times I don't care to hear 50 years of experience. Well, 50 years you've been around, that doesn't mean you know anything sometimes. True. But anyway, so I'm joking, about the Vivitar thing and everything. It's just that it gives us an opportunity to maybe during our shows here to take a step back in time and enjoy a laugh or two about things, that we've used.
So are you thinking maybe somebody in the audience has already gone to the website looking for a Vivitar 283 flash?
Well, they don't have to. Call me. Call Tim. Call Jeffy.
We have some. Probably between the three of us, we have a good half a dozen of them. So.
Somebody just popped up on chats that said, he's got one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Ken said yeah, they were great flashes. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They did the job.
So we now have Serenade. Wow. What a story. Tim, what do you think?
Can you make it a little bit smaller? There we go. Okay. Beautiful lighting. I mean, I've years and years and years ago worked with Ed DeCroce on his Denver Symphony pictures.
Oh, did you? Wow.
And I remember the finite detail he would go to with his lighting to make sure every one of them were perfect. And I think the lighting here is done exceptionally well. My only concern is how bright all this is back here, because that kind of draws my eye away. But the lighting on her face is beautiful. Even on the strings on the violin, everything is lit in such a way you can see it, her fingertips. And here, it's just I have a problem with looking through those pillars into whatever the courtyard or whatever. Back here is very good because it gives them depth. You don't have a lot of separation in her head, but I don't care. I'm looking at this area.
Well, yeah, exactly the face and the hands and all that movement there is just so strong. It pulls you right in. Very three-dimensional. You want to just reach out and flick her earring. Yeah, very nicely done. How about the orange keystroke? Is that cool or no? What do you think?
Is it orange or did they take it off the violin?
Well, probably off her neck dress there or whatever. So it's
it looks like it could have been taken off the violin, but I might have made it a little bit more subtle, but particularly on the left side, because it's against all that black, it jumps out.
Yeah, very well done. Rick, anything you want to add?
No, but I do want to comment about Tim and Ed DeCroce, and I don't want to hold up the show. And after we finish, I do want to visit with you, Jeff, Tim, and I know Jeffy, you knew Ed DeCroce, because and if any of our viewers want to hang on, I want to visit with you, Tim, about him, because he was a very special man to me as well.
Absolutely. I think one of the best portrait artists we've ever seen. All right. We now have Stately. Oops, let me get rid of those guys. Tim, thoughts?
Well, it's really almost, it's too flat and too dark. I'm sure, because I can see in the trees here, we're in here. There's detail there, but it wants to come out. And I'm not sure how real that sky is based on the colors that I have and the density of those colors here in that blue. It's an imposing view of this castle, but I want to see more of it, and I can't see more if it's as dark as it is.
Rick, want to add?
Yeah, time of day, flatness of light, even though we'd have a little bit of dimension. I'm just getting my tool. Here we go. Little bit of direction, but overall flat. I think cropping up from the bottom to get rid of this pool or lake or stream or whatever that leads to the moat, I would imagine, would help it out. But I don't know. We used to use a term, that because of the exposure, it's a little muddy, and that is what it appears to be to me. Yeah, see, that's even that cropping is much better in my opinion, but I just feel that it's totally flat, overly flat. I'm sorry. Maybe we could use some contrast and adjustments that might help it, but that's where I am with it.
Well, it looks to me like it's definitely done with a, after before sun kind of a thing. So we definitely have that really, really low light level to get that.
Can you do some contrast levels or adjustments, Jeffy?
Well, sure.
Thank you. You're so kind.
I know, it's what we do here. Figure out how to do it, yeah. Let's do a
well, if you can't figure out how to do it, nobody can. Tim, I get calls every now and then as far as tech stuff. And
Yeah.
and when I visit with our colleagues at conventions or the few programs that I give every now and then, I tell them, if you want to know anything about tech, Photoshop, anything like that, call me and I'll give you Jeff's number.
Yeah, I need that number. That's
So you're thinking more, I kind of like the night after sun kind of feeling to it, which is going to be a flatter light. But if I kick it up the contrast a little bit more like this, and you think this is kind of more what you're thinking, or do you want to see it more like this?
well, just like that. Now you start
even that helps it.
You start to pick up the shape and the different tech, the different color, shadow, and highlights, particularly on the building, because those were gone.
Yeah,
And now
right.
you're starting to see, some specular light and highlights on the tops of these trees. Yeah, so it looks like it was there. It just wasn't presented that well.
Brought out.
I would like to play with this and drop that sky out and put the Milky Way in across the back there.
There you go.
Whoa.
All right, we're going for the Grand Slam here.
Yeah.
Might as well.
That alone to our viewers, my friends, is worth the price of admission. Way to go, Tim.
Very cool. All right. We now have The Desert Awakens. This is very powerful here, guys.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you heard that. There was a ooh by one of our judges here.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. What do you think, Tim?
Well, I mean, I know who took these, but when you get an angle that's not on the ground or 6 feet up or wherever your camera is, you get to see things completely different. And with a drone, it opens up a whole different world and a point of view. And this is again, the same as that other one, which we normally in judging, we don't compare one against the other. Well, I'm
Right.
comparing those two and this one. Look at the detail. You know, there's detail in every one of these little ridges, and the little crevices and the valleys and stuff, and up here on top. And I like the way the dark kind of blends into the setting sun, which is out of camera view, but you have this depth. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Ken tells me it wasn't, okay, I got it. But they're, you know, but it's just a great, great view.
Okay. Educate me, and I totally agree with everything you're saying. This
I hear a but.
area right here, is that natural to you?
Well, it looks like if you follow the cloud line from here and draw it through, you're coming right out there.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
it
it looks like it's
to me
just-
like it was toned down, and I'm seeing a little bit of a highlight area there. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. and
Possible,
I
possible.
apologize.
But you know, when we judge, we have to take things as we see it.
Exactly.
And if you kind of hedge on that, you're not being fair to the maker.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is how I see it. That it doesn't feel like it's the same gradation as the area immediately above it.
Right. I'll just enlarge it, but which you obviously can't do in competition. But when you do that, you can almost see a haloing around underneath the cloud and right up against the rock. And that's what happens a lot of times when you go and why am I not? Oh, don't do that. When you
Because I'm just seeing it doesn't fit for me
You're seeing, yeah.
visually as it
Seeing a
does
little bit of a
in the
light.
areas here and the areas here.
True.
So
Well,
I want to be
yeah.
fair to the maker, obviously, but like you say, Tim, absolutely, you evaluate what's right in front of you, and that's what I'm doing.
Well, it's kind of a light trap, I think, isn't it? It's just pulling your eye over there anyhow. So I might suggest to the maker to just, oops. Sorry.
I wonder, as the longer I look at this, had the picture been taken a few minutes earlier, as the sun settles down, the light goes flatter and flatter and flatter. But if the sun was still up a little bit, not above the horizon line, but brighter, whether we would picked up more texture here and more shape. Because here it's still relatively flat, even though you can still see separation and all that. But I'm just wondering what it would have, if there's an example that maybe they took as the sun's going down in different positions, how that would have changed.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some potential here.
And
for-
how do you guys feel about how much warmth of color in the sky? And is that warmth of color being transferred to the scene itself?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
good.
the lower the sun gets, the faster you lose color.
Right.
So and most
And
of the
I
color
understand
in this
that,
case is
but
way back here.
Man, there's so much reflection up here of light. Shouldn't there be some of that value on the scene?
It really depends on where the sun is. Man, I'm guessing the sun is already below the horizon. I'm not positive, but usually when the sun's above it, you're still picking up a lot of light up in this area, which would be
Okay.
in this area. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. And like I say, this is what I appreciate about our shows every month is it's such a learning experience for me.
Okay, the comment that just came up, this is sunrise.
Yeah.
So maybe you hadn't waited long enough for the sun to come up. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's more than a whole bunch more of these shots that could be you could learn from.
Mhm.
Well, I can
We have
tell
to
you,
judge what we look at.
right. And when the sun is still below the horizon, or you've got clouds that touch the horizon,
Right.
you're going to get that cool color in the
Because
sky.
you're picking up a little bit right here
Yeah.
and over here.
Right. So that's getting
Farther
just
the sun
enough
comes
more
up,
direct,
the more it'll
right?
come in, yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's definitely an image worth working on here
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
like you say, and maybe even warming this up a little bit. But this, you're right, when you talk about this little area back here, Rick, that just catches my eye. And then because of the haloing going on there, I think that's definitely something to work on. It looks great through here, looks great through here. All right. Get rid of these, get lines here, and move on to the Sentinel. Tim, thoughts?
All right. I think the balance is, I think for me, the strongest part of this image is this arch of the tree hanging over. I would
Right.
probably come down and cut it right around there somewhere. Because this part here for me is really distracting.
The light area on top.
It's not necessary.
Okay.
It isn't a valuable, it isn't an important part. And probably crop it a little bit there. And I mean, the green, the white egret here is very well placed. And you know, I think it's a good shot. I think I'm just trying to look here a little bit. Yeah, I think I cut the top down, come in a little bit more this way. Again, because this tree stump is the anchor in the image. And if it's too far in, it draws, it adds it, you know, it makes this more attractive or more visible. There you go, a little bit more.
More on the top or the side?
Come in from the left. A little more, there you go. And that'd probably come in on the right side a little bit as well. A little more. See, now the egret is almost in the third there, so. You know, shots like this are so fun to play with after the exposure. You
Yeah.
can sit down and you can play around with the cropping and maybe change some density or, you know, some of the tools we have like generative replacement and things like that. Because you can get rid of little fine details that
Right.
you never see. But it's the ability to crop and change your impact for as far as composition is concerned.
Rick, what do you think?
Love it. I like the crop, but I would actually recommend coming in a little more from the left, so that the trunk of this tree by the egret would just be a border. There you go. And then to me, that's, you know, a more
More better?
Better.
powerful crop, because we're supposed to be in the thirds, we're supposed to be a little closer
Right.
or further down or whatever. I might even come up from the bottom, tell you the
That's
truth.
what I was thinking too. That might be just come up like right about here.
Yeah, now you're talking, brother.
Come down a little bit more from the top. Get right into that orange. There you go. Back up a little bit. You just want to stay away from where those white trees were coming through in the back.
Yeah.
There, just flip that out. Just, I mean, there you go.
Gotcha.
You know,
Yeah.
one of the things that happened when we crop, we're afraid.
Yeah.
A little bit's good, you know, and you gotta have the courage to get in there and really try it. I
Yeah.
mean, it took me years to get
Right.
over. I mean, I'm stuck in this laws that I heard 8x10 and, you know, things like this. No. Play around with it, see what you gotta do.
Yeah.
The only thing I might fix on this one is right here. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, that's kind of bright there.
Carry over and,
You guys,
Would
I
you,
know.
would you
I
darken
know.
this area a little bit more?
I'd probably try it and then depending on what it looked like, whether I'd keep it. or
Even
not.
just down into maybe this density here. Rick, you started to say something?
Yeah, you guys, I know will appreciate this. We're doing all this cropping on these images and twisting and converting to black and white, blah, blah, blah. And I remember Gerhard Bacher. Nobody,
Yeah.
you guys don't remember
Oh,
him.
yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember him saying, sometimes less is more.
Yeah. Yep. I remember another time how he was, I think we were at Winona and he was tearing some loan images apart, and one of them was my dad's. So it was a little more it scored 100 at the Illinois State, and he was ripping it apart, and I'm going, wait a second. And then
That's
he told
my daddy.
then he told his joke about the German Messerschmitts. If you've ever heard that one,
I've heard that one about 10 times, I think.
I'll share that offline, Rick, if you haven't heard it. Okay, we got a couple more images to go. The wheat still grows. Come on. Get out of the crop.
Okay, can I take this one?
Yeah, please.
Gosh, what a great image. In my immediate thought, crop from the bottom up to the field.
You want to get rid of the tire?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it's a great story, but and I'll tell you why. Yeah.
2 images.
Here you go. Here you go, Tim. Here's your panorama.
There you go. I knew you guys would catch on.
And look at the beautiful leading line.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Whatever I guess it's a silo. We could keep it in, maybe take it out. We can crisp this thing up with some contrast, maybe, and saturation.
There's a chimney in the back of the house. I don't think it's a separate silo.
Is it? Because I see a chimney right here on this little house, I'm guessing.
Take that out, but
Yeah, see, it is a chimney on the back of the house. Take what out, Tim?
I would take the one on the far right. Because
That's
it breaks
okay.
the horizon line and that's.
Exactly. And maybe we could crop up a little bit more from the bottom because we've got the
dead grass.
The dead grass, yeah. This is a cool image, man. I'm not real enthused about the lighting. I would hope it would have been a little more directional, but man, great leading lines. You guys think this might be a candidate for black and white, Jeffy?
I gotta do it once or twice.
Give it a boost the contrast.
I'm gonna do it with some colors here.
Dang.
So we can take that field dark, we can take the field light. Dark gives us a little more contrast there. Let's drop that. I'm gonna push the sky. It's gonna give us a little bit of banding, but just kind of give you the idea. Make this almost
my goodness.
stormier look here.
I like this.
Stormier, is that a word? I guess it's another t-shirt we gotta place. Go to levels here.
More stormier. This is cool.
A little more
Give it a little more sky.
Meaning crop wise or
yeah, did you crop into the sky?
I did, yeah. I think
Come back up a little bit, just give it a little more space above that roof.
Of course, now I've lost it, so I think yeah. Yeah, no, actually I see the key line, that's the top of the image. So there is no more sky.
I really like this image, man. It's so reminiscent for me of like the post Dust Bowl, because if it was a Dust Bowl, there would be nothing but dirt around it.
Well, it's a lot more moody when you get that sky deeper and
yeah,
this falling down house. Very cool.
Would you crop it up anymore, guys, from the
Mhm.
bottom?
No,
I don't think so, because now we're starting to put the house right smack in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I could, but I guess it's not too
I
bad.
like, you know, there's a, I don't know if it's a dust sensor spot right here. When you get into a gray sky, there's more of it over here.
Yeah. Well,
Those things drive me crazy.
I've pushed the enlargement quite a bit, so we're starting to
Yeah.
pick up a little bit of noise all over. So it probably, yeah, it does pick up. There's another spot back here. and
No,
back
that's
here. But again, it's, Maker, if you're listening, watch for that kind of stuff, because I'm gonna drop a tornado back in right here.
no, that spot is up to, that's Dorothy in the
That's the shoes flying away.
With AI, you could put a tornado in there.
Oh, yeah, you could. I really think this image has some potential.
And it was a pretty image going in. Let's go back real quick to the begin. And my history is no, my history palette has disappeared on me here. It says it's out, but I'm not finding it, so go get it one more time. That's just weird. It's disappeared on me. Okay.
If the makers on
I don't see
You-
them in the audience.
I'd
No.
like to know where it was taken. What state? Is it here? Is it in Colorado? Is it?
Right. And Tim, here's why, because he wants to go back there and put a family right here.
That's right, yeah.
So we've gone up to, we were traveling up to Wyoming to speak and judge at their convention long time with Gary Phillips, and we stopped at this sunset in this most beautiful barn, and Gary and I are running around get this, and Rick's 100 yards off in the other direction doing portraits of the two of us photographing. Matter of fact, he did do portraits. Remember how you had us pose?
I did. Gave you guys a print.
They were great. Yep. But Rick always says that I go out, I take my workshops and I go out and create these wonderful portrait backgrounds of landscapes. Someday I'll get you out there, but it's, we have to do it before sunrise and after sunset, and I know you're long in bed, so it doesn't work for you. All right, guys, we have one more image here. Let's take a look at that one. And then we can get some feedback from our troops. I'll clean that up in a sec. This is called Village Beach.
Those are my circles from the previous.
Yeah, I just need to go. Yeah, there we go. Come on, get past that. There we go. Okay, Tim, your thoughts, please.
Well, I'm looking at it from the position I want to see more to the left. I mean, you got these open spots, little bays of water. I'm just curious what's out here in the middle part. The border doesn't, for me, doesn't really help. It just makes the image way too green. I mean, in green in presentation, not in overall cast. I'm curious of the time of day, because I'd like to see more separation or texture in the depth as you go farther and farther back, because there's like a little community over on the far upper right, and then you go across and there's another little group of houses here and there, and then you have this beach. Just, I'd like to see more. I want to see the whole scope.
Rick, go ahead and add some thoughts there.
Yes, it's a very nice pastoral view. You know, the whole idea of the green and the richness of the land is nice. Center of interest. When we photograph anything, we want to have the viewer concentrate or put their interest or focus their eyes on the center of interest. And unfortunately, I'm drifting, all around the image and looking for a focal point, something, whether it's down here in the bottom, if it's I don't know, a boat or whatever that would draw our interest. or if it's something around here, again, a cart, people, I mean, you know, they'd be so small and minuscule, but something to focus a point on, because it's a nice scene. Unfortunately, and in terms of lighting, it's you know, a little bit flat for me. So I apologize if I'm a little too hard, but that's kind of where I am with it.
Well, I have to agree. I think sometimes in an image like this, it's difficult to get a bigger score when you don't have that major focal, something to draw the viewer, the judge in. And it's tough because it is an overcast day, it looks like, so there's going to be that flat, soft lighting. So then you almost really need to pull in a focus point for there to be, even if it is, we've seen several images that have that foggy, soft look to them, but there's been a focus point or a little story going on. And there's so much here, like you say, Rick. Where do we land our attention? And this, wouldn't you say this kind of falls into your, when you refer to the impact of being fleeting or lasting?
Right,
On
right.
first scene, it's wow, look at that scene, and then the,
Yeah.
the mountain, the water back there. Then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, where do I stay? You know,
Right, absolutely.
You know, the title, what was the title again?
Village Beach.
Yeah, to me, I mean, this is obvious. I think it appears to me to have been taken in Ireland. And I say that because I can see all the rock walls that they use to divide property lines and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I would have thought a title more suiting to that to give an idea of what you're looking at. You know, just, I mean, I want to be there and I want to take that, a picture like that. This might be where a good stitch panorama could be into play, because you have beautiful, beautiful scenery there. But I don't see enough to really give me the story.
Yeah,
You make a good point, Tim, regarding titles, and we've had this, well, not a conversation, but points have come up. What is your modus operandi, if you will, when you come up with titles, or when you try to see what you can come up with titles? That's a nice crop, Jeffy.
well, I think
I
it pulls us into a little more motion, movement, highlights the mountains in the background.
Yeah, you've eliminated a major distraction in the foreground, because that beach and that little cove, you know, that's where they wanted your eyes to go. But then you're missing all of this. But as far as the title, I hate titles. Drives me insane. Yeah, I'm very simple when it comes to titles, because I've seen competitions where people use foreign languages, and you
Yep.
assume that when you put a foreign language on there, that the person reading it knows what they're saying.
Right.
I try to keep my titles as simple as possible. And you know, it's just one of those, I'm not good at it, but you know, I've survived, let me put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah,
And-
I know what you said. I judged yesterday for a group, and there was several titles that were in French, and just really, I'm just playing as we go along here. It was difficult to get the message, get the story, and then it was served to be more confusion than we needed. So, what were you gonna say, Rick?
No, I was just going to agreeing with Tim.
Not me.
Oh, of course, that was coming up in my close tonight, how much I agree with you, and you know, and the fact that everyone is entitled to their own ridiculous opinion. And Tim, you may know, and I know Jeff knows, where I got that from. Frank Christian. You remember him?
I have a plaque on my wall right there from Frank Christian. I
Hey,
won the gold medallion.
we're too old.
I won the gold
Wow.
medallion in 1993, and it was given to me in honor of Frank Christian.
Really?
He had just passed away. You know, that's,
Yeah. what a talented guy and so knowledgeable.
Goats Serenity. Rick, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah. I like the lighting coming obviously from camera left, creating, you know, some nice dimension. I think we could probably crop up from the bottom. We have you know, the selective focus, which is okay, but there's a lot of it in about about a fifth,
Probably, yeah.
a fourth or a fifth of the image from the bottom up. So how much value that adds? There you go. There you go. Yeah. Something like that, I think, would be nice in terms of, you know, impact.
Oh,
You know,
excuse me. Would you go even more crop or?
I'm
I-
sorry.
Did you-
You got two different pictures here. You have the
Okay.
two goats on the far right side, then you have this open space between them.
Right.
In this, yeah, here now you have basically, excuse me, they're all relating to each other because they're kind of all looking towards the center. But I still like the original, you know, presentation. I mean, I guess these are Rocky Mountain goats.
Yeah.
Mountain goats.
Yeah.
Are they that used to having people around them, or is this,
Yeah, they are. I mean, folks flock up there like crazy.
okay?
Probably obviously a long lens, but they are prevalent and people follow them and photograph them. And
So I would just say that, I mean, the lighting, I think is good. It could be just a little bit better, but you don't have any control over this stuff.
Right.
You know, you're there, you get what you get. I like the presentation. I think the matting and the key line are good.
yeah,
Just for, yeah, I think just for me, it's cropping and then deciding whether you wanna. I don't have a pencil anymore, but, well, here it is. You gotta decide if you wanna do that. Or maybe even just cut them out of the picture to give more room for these guys. But I like it. I mean, the background is subtle enough, it doesn't grab you. Those white goats stand out.
Yeah.
well, I think for a competition, you can't do this. But if you're just going to hang this on a wall or hang it in a restaurant or
Yeah,
something, you could
yeah.
you could use some AI and get
Yeah.
rid of this softer because it's just soft enough that it's pulling your attention down there to, you know, for the maker. But just, you know, I like the texture of the more sharp grasses where the goats are standing. So if it was more like that down here,
I
it
don't
would
know if
be
it's
as
my
obvious.
imagination, but it
Yeah.
appears there's some vignetting here.
Yeah. And you know, Jeffy, you make a good point because
Well, yeah.
occasionally, but
You're lucky.
you know, the distinction between, you know, competition and commercial. Obviously, every image we want it to be a winner in terms of competition, but that just isn't the reality. I can't remember who said, I mean, really a great photographer said that, you know, I think maybe 1 out of 1,000 images I do is a good one, and less than that, great ones. But the point being, you know, our comments are here to help. Yeah, if you want to enter in competition, but if you're doing commercial work in the sense that for sale, these are things we're commenting on, and we talked about that earlier as well, as far as I think it was that watercolor flower photograph
Yeah.
coloring, that maybe doing a series of that would make a beautiful
Right.
artistic, you know, decoration in a home. Might not do well in competition, but you know, you're making money. That's
Well, it's the green, we call those the green merits over the years.
right.
Yeah. Well, I think something like this, as it is, would be a phenomenal poster, gift card, small
Right.
thing on the wall, and the masses would love it because here's the mountain goats, and then I think there's several stories in here that would be good, and even with the grass being a little softer in front, not a problem at all. So
Yeah.
depends on your usage, but Let's take a look. We got one more to look at here, and then
Great print for a man cave.
There you go.
Exactly. Okay, well, then we have Sunset Currents. That's my favorite time of day right there. I like this composition. It's got nice leading lines here. We get this nice soft hillside that brings us in to the trees, the river running. I'm trying not to say it, but the river going here. And then we have the complementary colors of the sky and the beautiful lines there. The mountains have just gone soft to give us some supporting background without taking over. Maybe I'd choose a little different color on the mat, and the key line maybe a little strong. Again, we're being real picky because you have a real strong green in the grass, and then this kind of an olive on the mat that I'm not. Well, I mean, I guess you could argue that it's in the trees, and it's one of those things too that, what do you pick? But I would maybe go a little more neutral, I guess, than on the mat and soften this key line just a tiny bit because they are grabbing my attention a little bit. Tim, your thoughts?
Well, I agree with what you said. What strikes me kind of strange, and it's nothing to do with the photograph, but all those trees in the foreground are only have branches on one side. So they must have some hellacious wind that blows through here. But that struck me as kind of strange,
Well, that's a Wyoming thing. You'll have a strong wind that'll just
Yeah.
blow all the branches in one of the
I
directions.
love the picture. I wish that the horizon line could be lower, but because of those trees where they are, you'd be cutting into those trees as they are, but because I'd like to see more of this beautiful pastel skies, because the way it's reflected in the foreground, the midground, and the distant area, just a great shot. I wonder if I was able to, and I don't know because I'm not there, if I could move much farther to the right to accentuate this S curve.
Right. Yeah, and the more I look at it, I maybe would work to soften this strong Kelly green in the grass. It's just kind of asking for too much attention. Just look at
That
the
green
beautiful.
doesn't look real to me.
Yeah, when you get those
Looks like
green
it's been
push.
enhanced.
Yeah, when you
Because you
push
look
the
at all the
green,
other subtle colors,
right.
and that's what that area needs, because that draws my attention away.
And my next question is, Rick, where would you put the family? Right here?
I would put a hiker right here, working their way down.
That would be cool.
Yes,
Hiker
it would.
and a hiker and a dog. Hiker with a backpack and a dog.
There you go. Great pieces of work. Our
Look
dear
at the-
friends,
Look at
viewers.
the lovely color in the water. This is just very striking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, gang, everybody, thank you so much for submitting and letting us have some fun at your expense, I guess. I hope that we have given you some positive feedback. I mean, we're just three guys who have nothing better to do tonight. No, obviously some experience, but we'd like to, certainly get just help you tweak.
Let's visit a little bit more about Ed DeCrose.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful man. Yeah, next to Dad, he was like my second mentor. I mean, as a matter of fact, I went to he didn't give very many seminars, but he did a 3-day at his studio on Colfax. And what an experience. And you mentioned too that he did the symphony series. And it was shortly after I took his class. He had already done the symphony. And I asked him, I want your permission. May I propose that to our little town, Pueblo, to our symphony? And he was so gracious. And he says, absolutely. And he says, and please let me know as you're working with them how I can help you. And
Yes.
I was so honored.
That's cool.
And I'll tell you what, that was 1988. And we did this, did the photography. I pretty much modeled it after his way of doing it with his permission. And what a reception we had in town. The local symphony at their opening had at the Arts Center had a concert that the symphony entertained. And then we had a display of all of the first seats, which is what he did, of the symphony out in the reception area. And man, and then we got all of the, the accolades, if you will, that he would mention during the pauses during the symphony. And we went out and went into the reception area. And after that, we had showings around town with the banks. Just I modeled it exactly with his permission. And man, what mileage we got out of that. It was so
It's
I met
genius.
him at a Greater Denver meeting. And I had just moved to Denver. I was working for Mark Marietta. I was a photographic systems engineer on Skylab. And he heard that I was a Brooks graduate. So he sought me out and he said, can you shoot some weddings for me? So sure, when I was doing weddings.
right.
And so he said, come to my studio. And he says, I'm on East Colfax. And he brought me downstairs into his lab downstairs in the basement.
Yep.
He went over the whole thing. He said, this is what I'd like you to do. He asked me some questions. And he says, here's some film. You're going to this wedding. And I don't want you to shoot any more than the film that I give you. Back in the days when, counted rolls of film.
You
Right.
bet.
And came back and we critiqued it all. And his first response to me was, you need a lot of help.
He was an honest man, I'll tell you that.
Yes, he was.
And he didn't do it in a mean way or anything.
Nope,
He
he
just
was.
said, you need a lot of help. And he says, I'm gonna help you. And so I worked with him for about 4 years, but I got to help him on the Denver Symphony series. And I got to help him with the flute player, the oboe player,
Really?
cello
Nice.
player. And because I played the flute and the oboe and the clarinet and stuff like that. So he wanted my input on that. I says, you want my input on what you're doing? Are you crazy? And he says,
Wow.
no, I want to hear what you have to say. And
Definitely.
he was my sponsor for my master's.
No kidding. Wow.
Very cool.
Hopefully you can stick around for a couple minutes after we head off.
I'm
But I
sitting
want
here.
to, very good. I want to thank you so much. Man, what a great experience. Your insights, and like I mentioned earlier, I always feel that I learn more than I impart, and that certainly was true tonight. Jeff and I do this all the time, but to have a third party come in and add to it is just something that I really appreciate.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Well, thank you so much. We'll certainly make that happen. Cliffy, you're the man. Thank you so much, my friend. You're always there and ready to help and willing and full of enthusiasm. And I appreciate that very much, my friend.
Always good to be here, man.
Thank you. Jeffy, comments?
Guys, thank you so much. We'll put this out on both our website and our whatever that page is called.
Thea, thank you for being here.
Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Olin, it's always good seeing you. Michael, love you guys.
Thank you for watching the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson and Rick Avalos. Learn more by checking them out at theimagecritiqueshow.com.